Hello, good afternoon. We are so excited to have you guys here with us today to learn more about the professional MBA program at WashU. Hopefully, you all are excited to learn more. So, before we get started, we are going to give you an idea of who you're talking to. So, my name is Ashley Lotzenizer. I'm Associate Director of Graduate Programs here in the Graduate Programs Office, and I'm also joined by my colleague.
Hi, my name's Megan Waite. I'm an Associate Director of Graduate Programs Admissions, along with Ashley, working primarily with the professional and the full-time MBA program.
Awesome. So before we get started, everyone has been muted in order to reduce background noise. So if you're like munching on some chips or something, we will not be able to hear you. But just to make sure, if you are unable to hear us, if you could go ahead and raise your hand and let us know that you can't hear us. No one's hand is up, so we're going to guess that everyone can hear us. And as we go through the presentation, if you have any questions as we go along, you can actually write your questions either in the chat function, and there's also a Q&A box. So either of those places, if you have any questions, something you want to hear more about, feel free to chat it or type it in there as we're talking. And then when we get to the end, we'll definitely go over some questions. So definitely, if you think of anything as we go through the presentation, certainly let us know. So I do want to give you an idea of the things that we are going to talk about today. So we are going to talk about the format of the program. So we are going to speak about kind of your options for the professional program. We're going to talk about classes that you can take, and we're also going to talk about the pacing of the program. We'll also dive a bit into the class profile to give you an idea of who you would be in class with for the program. We'll talk about the application process. And some recommended next steps as well. And at the end, as I mentioned, we'll take some Q&A. So as you think of questions, go ahead and type them in, and we'll get to those at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Megan to tell us a little bit about kind of the format and give us an idea of how the program is structured.
Great, thanks, Ashley. And I just want to mention as well, I'm actually a recent graduate of the program. So if anybody has any questions from that student perspective, I'd be happy to answer those as well throughout the process. So we're going to start with talking a little bit about what the format looks like and what the different start dates are for you coming into the program. So there are a total of 54 credit hours for the program itself, and of that there are 24 credit hours that are your core classes. So you can start the program with those core classes in the spring or the fall. So typically the spring would be starting in January, the fall would be starting in late August. So to give you an idea of what that might look like, depending on what your schedule is like, your core classes are in a different format based on the semester in which you begin. So for the spring, for example, you'll see that the Saturday program is where all of your core classes are. So you would essentially have a class from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on a Saturday, and then a second class 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And again, just remember, this is just for your core classes. It works out to be around 37 out of 52 weeks in the year that you would be using for your Saturday program. And then after that, you would move into your electives, which have a much more flexible format, which we'll talk about shortly. For the fall classes, you'd actually be doing your core classes in the evening. So 2 classes per week, usually two of the days, Monday through Thursday, 6:15 to 9:15 p.m. So you really have that nice way of being able to determine what would best suit your schedule and your workload to be able to make sure that you can have as much flexibility as possible. So this is a fairly rigid core class schedule because you're coming through with a core group of students, a cohort. You'll be coming through in a team format, which is something that's very popular in the program as well, because it allows you to build strong relationships with those team projects, as well as with the cohort that you're coming through with. When it comes to your electives, know that after you're out of these core classes, you can be taking those in a variety of different formats. Anything from evening classes to Saturday classes, weekend classes, Friday through Sunday, so you're just doing it in one block. Week-long classes, Monday through Friday. You'd have to probably take some vacation, but it's a great way to get some of those additional credits out quickly if you're looking to accelerate the program. So moving on to the next slide that we have here as well, this just gives you a little bit of an idea of what that course structure might look like, specifically for those 24 core credits. And then moving into those elective gaps later on. Average is about 3 years that it takes for people to complete the program, but we can talk a little bit more about that flexibility again shortly. The structure that you're seeing right now is actually for a full format. So obviously in the spring that would look just a little bit different based on where you're starting your time. You have 3 semesters that you would be completing in each year, which is what allows you to be able to do this at a fairly quick rate for a part-time program, which is really nice. And then in addition to that, with, as I mentioned before, that total of 54 credit hours relative to our full-time MBA program, which is 66 credit hours, it also allows you to be able to get a little bit of credit and acknowledgement for that work that you're doing in the workplace in real time and be able to take this information back with you as well. When it comes to those core classes, you'll see they add up actually based on the A and B sections. You'll see those sections essentially mean that you would be doing a half semester long program at 1.5 credits instead of at 3 credits. The semester long classes would be for 3 credit hours. So the total that you can see here actually adds up to 21 core credit hours. In addition to that, to get that remaining 3 credit hours, you would be doing a strategic management class at the very end of the program, which is kind of like your capstone to really tie everything back in together. And then you'd also be doing one required elective in organizational behavior. So there's essentially 2 organizational behavior classes that you'd be required to take to meet your graduation requirement there. In addition to that, those electives, as I mentioned, have a very flexible format. And I just want to highlight some of the electives that you can do here, some of the concentrations that you can focus on if you have areas of interest. We have marketing concentration, finance, operations and supply chain management, entrepreneurship, and then also consulting and general management there as well. Within that, you can also take special focus areas in healthcare, in sports management. We have some electives as well, and then some other areas that might be of interest like social entrepreneurship also. In addition to that, I will mention some great highlights of more practicum components that you can gain real-world experience from during the program. The Taylor Community Consulting Program is actually a 1.5 credit hour elective that's very popular with our PMBA students. The reason being is that it allows you to work with a nonprofit organization here in St. Louis and essentially work on an 8-week-long consulting project for them. So it's a great way to expand your network, to be able to learn a little bit more about that nonprofit sector, gain some consulting experience, and be mentored through that process with a faculty member and also with a Deloitte mentor. So if that's a space that you're interested in, I would highly recommend that as one of the classes that you take. In addition to that, we have what's called the United Way Board Fellows Program. And that is a program where you would actually go for an entire year. It's for 3 credits. And you would be working with a nonprofit United Way agency here in the St. Louis area, working on a one-to-one consulting project with them and actually sitting as an active voting board member for that 12 months that you're with them to be able to learn a little bit more about board governance from that perspective as well. Definitely recommend both of those. They are housed through the Center for Experiential Learning. And then finally, I will mention as well that it's quite popular for our PMBA students to look at study abroad opportunities. And I know you're working full time, so you probably need that flexibility as well to be able to make sure that's an option for you. But there are short stint study abroad opportunities that you can do where you're not necessarily having to be away for 6 weeks at a time. One example is in Paris for 2 weeks. It's usually in May or June, late May, early June, where you would be going over there and studying in one of the universities in Paris. And then the other one is over the spring break for the graduate students. We have a graduate management studies program. And that program is essentially taking students on what's essentially a road show to different regions of the world to be able to learn more about a certain industry and some certain corporations and cultural experiences that they can have there also. When it comes to the program pace, we'll move on to the next slide to show you a little bit about what that might look like for you. So you have the opportunity, which is really nice in this PMBA program, to be able to accelerate or slow down. And it really depends on what works best for you. So students that I knew in the program, again, average is about 3 years for completing the program, but you can accelerate as quickly as 2 years, which would essentially be 5 semesters. And you can complete this in as long as 7 years. And it really depends on your personal circumstances. I know a lot of people factor in tuition benefits from their employer, other plans they have for career trajectory as well. So make sure that you consider all of those as you come through this program. It is a maximum credit hours of 9.5 per semester. There is exception to that rule if you put in a formal request, and I have heard of that being approved depending on the circumstances. After your first semester, you can actually start adding electives on top of your core classes. So you have that ability, again, to be really flexible in what you're doing and make sure you get the most value out of the program. If you're looking at the 7 years for completion, really the only thing that will limit you is that core sequence, because that's when you need to be with your cohort coming through in a more structured format. Once you're outside of that, after the first few semesters, you can do whatever you like with the program, and it allows you to be able to, speed up or slow down as needed. And then even if you need to take a semester off based on, personal circumstances and your work experience too. So what does this look like as far as the outcomes on somebody's career once they graduate from the program? 43% increases 5 years out in salary has been noted by the surveys we've shared with our professional MBA alumni, which is really quite significant to know that that's occurring with the fact that they have this degree that's allowing them to be able to move forward in their career a little bit faster than what we think they would be able to without. 40% of the 5-year alums are at the executive level or upper management level. So that's 5-year alums, being 5 years out of the program again. So it's allowing you to have that strategic, critical thinking, strategy management experience to be able to move forward in your career and really enhance your opportunities at that upper management level. And finally, as I mentioned before, as you come through that core group, you're actually coming through together with that cohort and with a team of usually 5 to 6 students. And those 5 to 6 students and that cohort group has been listed as the strongest part of this program when it comes to looking at what the benefits are from the perspective of the students. From my experience, it has definitely been one of my favorite things about the program, meeting with a lot of different people, networking within my core class, and then outside of the core class as well. Once you get into those electives, you'll have opportunities to meet other students across a variety of different programs, not just the professional MBA. I took classes with law school students. I took classes with students from the Brown School of Social Work. I took classes with full-time students, and then also our specialized master's programs. So it's a great way to really expand on that network, learn from a variety of different people from a lot of different perspectives, and really get a better understanding of what it might look like in the real world when you're starting to apply some of these examples in strategic management tactics.
So we do want to touch on who you will actually be building this network with, who you're going to be in those classes with and in that community. I also want to remind you, if you have any questions, obviously we're touching on a lot of aspects of the program here, to go ahead and type those in. We'll get to those at the end. So thinking about the overall class profile for the professional MBA program, typically the average age is about 28. I will say there's a pretty wide margin on that, and the average work experience is about 5.5 years. Though certainly we have students coming in very quickly after their undergraduate program. We also have students who are maybe more like 10 years of experience. So I would say the kind of middle 80% is usually pretty inclusive of somewhere between kind of 2 and 10 as far as years of work experience. Also, thinking about the academic background of students, a lot of our candidates have a non-business academic background, and certainly that could be a reason why you're looking at the professional MBA program, is you may not have had the business experience as an undergraduate student, and so pursuing the MBA is an opportunity for you to gain, as Megan said, those management skills, strategy skills, being able to tie together all the different aspects of business, and being able to make better decisions and solve problems and identify problems as well. So certainly we take candidates from all different academic backgrounds as well. And students also come from all different industries. Certainly there's a bit of reflection of the industries that are most popular in the St. Louis area, certainly, but candidates come from all over the place. And so there's definitely not a specific industry or job function that you need to be coming in with, but it's more about your fit for the program. There's also a little bit of information up here about kind of the academic background of students as far as average GPA and GMAT, and we'll touch on the application process here in just a second, but I do want to note that it is a very diverse cohort as far as academics, as far as background, as far as jobs, and so we really would encourage you, no matter what your background is, the MBA could definitely be a good fit for your professional career. So coming up, if you are looking to start this fall of 2017, your orientation will begin on August 24th. As an FYI, we have 2 upcoming deadlines. The first is June 1st, and then we have a July 10th deadline. These are the 2 next deadlines for the fall. After July 10th, we certainly still accept applications for the fall, but we move into rolling admission. So we notify students on a rolling basis after July 10th. So hopefully these deadlines are ones that work with your schedule, and certainly there are a lot of opportunities to engage before then as well. But we do want to touch on what's required in the application. The application is completely online. If you wanted to go ahead and start it today, you certainly could. You can go to our website, which I've listed here, to look at the application. There is an application form that you'll fill out. Pretty straightforward, your name, your address, where you work, just kind of basic demographic information. You will submit your resume as well. So you probably have a professional resume as you are a working professional. You'll go ahead and submit that to us. You don't need to make it specific to business school, but we're really looking to get an idea of where you're currently working, what you're doing, where you are in your career. We'll also ask you to write a short essay, 500 words or less. We ask you to introduce yourself as you would to your future classmates. So it's an opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about you. Megan touched on how important the network and the cohort is, and we certainly want to build a diverse community here and build a community of peers. And so we'll ask you to write an essay, give us an introduction to who you are. We also require either the GRE or the GMAT exam. We do not have a preference between either of those exams. If you're really interested in starting this fall, you certainly have plenty of time to do some studying and take either of those exams before the start of the program, before you apply, actually. And we are happy to have a conversation about which test might fit your background, give you some information about either of those tests. But as I mentioned, we don't have a preference between the two. You're also going to submit to us your transcript. So we just want to get an idea of the courses that you took and the grades that you got in those courses. We do require your undergraduate transcripts, and then if you have any other degrees, so maybe you already have a master's degree, maybe you're currently in a master's program, whatever it might be, you're going to go ahead and submit your transcripts from any of the degrees that you've received. Now, I will make a note that all of the documentation can be unofficial, so your transcripts, your GMAT or your GRE, those can be unofficial documents. So it can be maybe a scan of your undergraduate transcripts. It can also be your unofficial GMAT or your GRE scores. As I said, the documents can be unofficial. I'll also note that we don't have any letters of recommendation, so we don't require nor do we review letters of recommendation, so you don't have to worry about getting those. And there's also not an application fee. So as I mentioned, the application is completely online, and you can go ahead and start today if you're looking to start this fall. I do want to mention that it is a holistic application review process. So we do look at all the components of the application. We are trying to make sure that this program is a fit for your goals, and then also that you're a fit for the program here. So certainly the application is a great way for us to start that conversation. We also will invite some candidates to interview for the application as well. So we, as we said, want to get to know you a little bit better. So we'll have kind of a face-to-face or Skype conversation with you to get to know you better. But hopefully you kind of get the idea here that the application is relatively straightforward. We definitely understand that you're working professionals, and so it is a straightforward application process to complete. Now, as you learn more about the program, maybe you'd like some more information about WashU, about Olin, there's definitely some upcoming events that we would encourage you to attend if you're interested. So we have a webinar coming up about the St. Louis startup scene. This is actually open to all of our graduate programs. So this would be definitely inclusive of our professional MBA program, our full-time MBA program, as well as our master's programs. So that's a great webinar to attend if you want to learn more about the startup scene, or maybe you're a part of the startup scene, and you can hear a little bit about how that's an opportunity for our students in all of our graduate programs. We are also having an on-campus information session in May. So if you want to continue the conversation, come and see the information session in May. You'll have the opportunity to meet with some of our student ambassadors, some other staff members, learn a little bit more about financial aid. That's great, definitely a great information session to attend as well. But also obviously give you a chance to come to campus and see the building if you haven't done so already, and learn a little bit more about us. If you are interested in attending a class, we also have the opportunity, if you'd like, to come and shadow a class. You can contact us and we'd be happy to share some information about that. We'll also be having kind of some preview days coming up, so definitely either keep checking our website or we'll be emailing you with some information about those opportunities, other ways to engage, other ways to learn more about the program. Now, if you are interested in meeting with us, having a one-on-one appointment, feel free to send us an email and we can put you in contact with either Megan or myself and we'll chat with you a little bit more about the program. this is a great way for us to kind of answer any questions that you might have, talk to you a little bit about which of the formats best fits you, and answer any questions that you might have about the application as well. So certainly we would say next steps would be meet with us. We definitely want to meet you and get to know you a little bit better. Also attend an event if you have the opportunity to do so. As I mentioned, we have a couple of events coming up in the near future, and then we'll also be setting some preview days and some activities over the summer as well. And then go ahead and get your questions answered. We don't want you to be thinking of these questions and don't know how to get the answer, so send us an email and Megan and I will be happy to assist. And go ahead and start the application. If you think this might be a good fit for you, that's a great first step. Get the conversation going, help us learn a little bit more about you. So as I mentioned, emailing our general inbox, which is olingradadmissions@woostel.edu, is a great way to make sure no matter who's out on vacation or who's in the office, that we can get your question answered and get you directed to the right person. So hopefully those are some good next steps for you. But as I said, those one-on-one meetings, certainly you can come to the office if that's convenient. Otherwise, Megan and I are happy to chat over Skype or over the phone and kind of meet you where you are as far as the process goes. Now, I do want to turn it over and answer any questions that you might have. So hopefully you've been kind of letting things percolate and having the opportunity to kind of decide if you want what next step is going to be best for you. So we're happy to help answer any questions. So you can either type those in the chat box or in the Q&A box. Either of those is totally fine. If nobody has any questions, me and I will probably just kind of think about the most common questions that we get about the program. And certainly we did try to cover a lot about the format, give you an idea of when you'll be in class, how you'll be completing the program, what courses you're going to be able to take, what opportunities there are outside of just classes to really develop and to challenge yourself. Hopefully we also give you a bit of information about what sort of impact this might be able to have on your career and give you an idea of the application process as well. So we can turn it over to you guys for any questions you have. As I said, feel free to go ahead and type those in the box. Otherwise, Megan, oh, we do have a question. Oh, excellent. So is there an example of what the Saturday cohort schedule might look like? Start date, semester length, holidays. Yeah, so Megan mentioned 37 Saturdays.
Yeah, so for the Saturday format, again, it would be that 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 37 Saturdays within 52 weeks of the year. There are essentially blocks of time that you would be doing that, and then you would have 1 to 2 weeks where you're not in classes. The schedule for the spring is actually available for this year. Always, I would say, caveat to everything with this world of liability is that it's subject to change. But certainly, I'd be happy to share that information with you as well by email. And it looks like, based on the fact that you've put that in the chat box, Olivia, we'll be able to send that information to you over email as well. So I'll send you a sample of what it looks like this year, and that will help you as well with what it might look like for next year, so you can start to make those plans.
And as Megan mentioned, there are courses that are semester-long courses. There are also courses that are half semester. And so your schedule in the core is pretty straightforward. But after that, your schedule could vary a lot. We also mentioned that there are some week-long classes. So certainly there are opportunities where you might be getting a lot of credit in a short amount of time, and that your semester schedule might look very different than it does in the core. It's important to know that the core is a lockstep program, so you are going to be taking specific classes at a specific sequence, and so that's why it's important that that core is unchangeable. So once you enter the program, you are kind of locked into that core format until you finish those required classes. So someone asked about visit days, campus visit days. So we do have some campus visit days, actually. The ones that are listed on the website on the full-time side are for our full-time program. We do also have specific campus visit days, class visit days for our professional MBA program. We do those on a one-on-one basis. So if you're interested in visiting class on a for the professional program, actually send us an email and we can work out kind of what format you might be looking at and how we can set up a campus visit. So that was anonymous. So hopefully anonymous, I helped you. And then someone asked about a joint degree program with something like a master's degree. It is very uncommon that our professional MBA students do something like a joint degree. We do have some of our master's programs, some of our specialized master's programs that are offered on a part-time basis, but they are really a hybrid. So they do require that you have some flexibility in your schedule and that you are able to take some classes during the day. So if you do have that flexibility, it is a possibility. However, within the professional MBA program, you can specialize. So you can specialize within the program and focus in on something like finance. So you do have the opportunity to take pretty extensive coursework in a particular area through the MBA program. Megan, did you know anybody who did it?
Yeah, so I can add to that a little bit as well. You, again, as Ashley mentioned, it isn't very common. I don't know anyone specifically that did it because you can get the same classes through your PMBA. So from a time standpoint and a cost standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that unless from an employment perspective, you're looking for a job that requires a master's in finance, for example, in this case. Not very common at this point in time. You'd be just fine doing a concentration and still be able to get the same leverage in your experience. There is a list of the PMBA core and elective classes available online, but you can also dive into the full-time MBA and the specialized master's programs course listings. Anything there, as long as you're meeting prerequisites and there are seats available, you can take as a PMBA student toward your degree. So that's where that flexibility really comes into play. In addition to that, we have a reciprocal agreement across the campus as well. So the same applies to up to 6 credit hours outside of the business school. If you're interested in taking classes, for example, in the school, the Brown School, or you're interested in a business law class through the law school, you can do that as well and have that still applied back. So that's why we typically don't see it. But certainly we'd be happy to have that conversation about what potential synergies might exist if that's still something that you wish to pursue. One thing, this is a completely separate note, but Kim, I just want to acknowledge that we will send you also that spring Saturday class schedule so that you have that also.
There's also a question about the cost per credit hour. So for the professional MBA program, you do pay on a per credit hour basis. And the current rate, I believe, is about $1,600 per credit hour. That does change year to year. So each year the tuition does fluctuate a little bit. And so there is obviously your total cost. You can do a pretty good estimate by just multiplying the per credit hour by 54. You can certainly do that, but do know that there's a little bit of variability in that. Certainly, if you want to go a little bit deeper into financial aid available and what options there are, how you might use any sort of tuition reimbursement your employer might have, we do have a financial aid webinar on our YouTube channel. And then we can also put you in contact with our financial aid team if you want to have a one-on-one conversation. So certainly if you want to learn a little bit more about that process and kind of any specifics to your own situation, as we said, we can put you in touch with the right people. So just send us an email and we're certainly happy to help do that. Any other questions? There's some good questions.
Yeah, great.
So I'll just make one more note that Megan and I do work with our professional MBA program, so we certainly look forward to getting to know you a little bit better. For those people that were asking about the Saturday schedule in the chat box, we'll go ahead and follow up and send that to you as well. As Megan said, caveat, it definitely can change as we are kind of, our Saturday program just started in January, and so it's the next time it'll start is next January, so it's a little bit far out at the moment. If you're interested more about the fall schedule, we certainly could share that with you as well. If you have any further questions, as we said, feel free to email us at olingradadmissions@worcester.edu.
And I'll also add that on our website, we do have a section under the PMBA website that allows you to get in contact with current students through our ambassador program. So take a look there, look for the tab that says Ask a Student, and then by all means, you're welcome to reach out to them and ask any questions you have. There's a little bit of a bio on those that are represented so you can get an idea of perhaps if they're one of your colleagues and you don't know it just yet, and make sure that you can get a better understanding from that student perspective as well. So feel free to reach out to them. They're more than happy to answer any questions. And as Ashley mentioned earlier, from the standpoint of visiting a class, definitely reach out to us directly and we'll connect you with one of those ambassadors to host you for the day also.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for coming today. We will post this, so if you want to, recreate this time that we've had together, you certainly can go in and watch the webinar again. But definitely stay in touch and let us know if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a fabulous day.